It qualifies to be good evening. Eh? It does. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thabo. I'll be your host this evening. We have a very straightforward program this evening and hope it will be an engaging, enlightening, and insightful evening for all of us. I am the communication marketing specialist at the Thabo Mbeki School. As I said, my role is quite simple and straightforward. I am going to be calling upon the acting executive dean of the school to make a few remarks and introduce the speaker for this evening. Prof. Alola will then come and deliver his talk. We will then, after that, have an engagement with yourself and colleagues who will be joining online. Thank you very much. Over to you, Prof.
Good evening, everyone. Are you tired? Good evening. Yes, thank you so much, and I just want to welcome everyone for coming this evening to be with us. We have had 2 days of feasting with our International Advisory Board and on a program of master classes on global governance, G20 and the future of Africa, so in the world. So it was quite a very good program. And if you were not here, you missed out a lot. But we hope that in the next master classes that we will be having, you will be here. And this session that we are going to have now is open to the public. It's a lecture. And that's why we thought our International Advisory Committee cannot be here and leave without actually engaging with the public. And we want to thank the presence of the chair of the advisory board, Professor Toyin Falola, for agreeing to take this lecture this evening to engage and educate the public and to interact with the public over these few minutes that we will have with him here. And we are hoping that the subject that he wants to tackle with us is quite very, very important: digital power. Where are we as Africa? Another form of imperialism, digital power. This afternoon in one of the master classes, you'll also access a little bit of what happened there, even if you were not part of the master classes. But you also realize that these algorithms, these AI systems that we are using, there are people behind them. And where are we? That's why one of the presenters this afternoon said she typed something on one of these chat GPTs, one of these AI systems, and it says, I cannot answer, I'm not allowed to tell you the answer to this question. And you ask yourself, how does it know that this type of question it cannot answer? So digital power, as far as we are digitalizing and digitizing, because there's a difference between digitalization and digitization. So I don't want to take much of your time this evening. It's just to welcome you and to welcome those who are online via our YouTube and Facebook. And to introduce, my role is small here. It's a very insignificant or small role because today is about this lecture, tonight is about this lecture. And you will hear more from the speaker as he comes to the podium. But let me tell you a little bit about the speaker. Our speaker, Toyin Falola, is Professor of History, University Distinguished Teaching Professor, the Jacob Francis Sanga Musaka Chair in the Humanities, University of Texas at Austin. He's an honorary professor at the University of Cape Town, an extraordinary professor of human rights, University of the Free State, here in South Africa. He's quite very involved, and University of Northwest as well, University of Pretoria as well, if I remember. He served as the General Secretary of the Historical Society of Nigeria, President of the African Studies Association, the Vice President of the United Nations educational, scientific, and cultural organizations, Slave Root Project, and the Kluk Chair of the Countries of the South, the Library of Congress, at the Library of Congress in the US. If you have been to Washington, D.C., you know the Library of Congress, what a place it is. He's a member of the Scholars Council Kluk Center, also at the Library of Congress, the recipient of more than 30 lifetime career awards and 30 honorary doctorates. I will pause and see what you'll do about this. He has written extensively on the humanities, including the humanities in Africa, knowledge production, universities and the production of knowledge, a recent book published by the University of Rochester Press, Decolonizing African Studies. If you have not had this copy of Decolonizing African Studies, Knowledge Production, Agency and Voices, I urge that you get a hold of this book. He has edited over 200 books on Africa and the African diaspora. He has been invited to speak on every continent, over 60 countries, manages 8 distinguished scholarly monograph series, and serves on the boards of over 20 journals. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Toyin Falola is going to be our lecturer tonight. In our language,
thank you very much. The acting executive dean of the Thabo Mbeki School. I am home in several African countries. I'm a small celebrity in Kenya, a small celebrity in South Africa, and some other places. I've been associated with Unisa for over 20 years. And I'm a professor, extraordinary professor in 3 South African universities. And the country has blessed me. University of Pretoria gave me an honorary doctorate. University of the Northwest gave me one. And I received an honorary doctorate of law from the University of the Free State. The only thing I've not done is to have a South African wife. But I'm looking at possibilities. I've been interested in the subject of power, and I will write a book on it before the end of the year. And most of my recent lectures have been on power. I gave a convocation address on the relationship between power and policies. I gave a lecture on power philosophy. I've given a lecture on power and development, power and science, power and the state. And today, I'm just extending the frontier of this knowledge on power. Next month in Uganda, I'll be giving 5 lectures on the limitations of power at Makerere, at their center. And I will close this conversation in Japan next month on power and migration. And I will accumulate all of them into reimagining Africa in relation to power. This afternoon, my interest is on digital power. But I want to start with what I find very depressing in contemporary conversation, especially among the Gen Z. The idea is for them to say that we have not contributed to technology and science. And in their frustration, they tend to create depressing narrative about our powerlessness. So the starting point is to affirm the African contributions to science and technology. It's also to say we don't have to apologize. And it's also to say we should claim what is ours. And I'm completing a book on African science and technology to accumulate what your ancestors, what my ancestors have contributed. In a nutshell, that which you don't talk about anymore, the ability to walk on two legs, the Stone Age, the invention of stones as tools, we lay claim to it. And our credit is very solid. The Stone Age ended not because there are no more stones. There are still stones outside this building. But it was the technology of the time, the technology that allowed hunting and gathering, the technology that allowed violence, the technology that allowed you to stand on two legs. If you have not been to the museum in Joburg about this technology, I think you should go there. Sefiso took me there some years back, and we went inside the cave with a river inside it that if you drop there, you are gone. Remember, what you enjoy today, the technology, they are products of fire. Without fire, you will not be enjoying what you are doing today. What happens is, whether it's electricity, whether it's internet power, whether it's solar power, its foundation is in the creation of fire. What we are just seeing are the transformation of energy from fire. It was created on this continent. We created the Metal Age and the Metal Age empires. In some places, we jumped the Bronze Age. The civilization of the pharaohs was a Bronze Age civilization. It was a civilization of technology. In all its manifestations as revolutionary as what we are seeing today. And we created an Iron Age, expansive, successful, revolutionary. That at that time, that will be the center of the world. And that iron technology revolutionized agriculture, generated the first set of urbanization in world history, institutions of governance, kingship, monarchies, ideas of power, ideologies of power, institutions of power. And as we transit further, you see how the expansiveness of the Iron Age technology created one of the most advanced places in the world up until around the 15th century. So why are you not talking about that? You are not talking about it because the world has not seen the technological advances that you now enjoy. The world has never seen anything like this. These achievements of the last 30 years. The world has never seen it. It didn't exist in 1940, it didn't exist in the 19th century. Because that rush of contemporary technology, that rush, the speed is tremendous. And that speed has led to what you now call artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution. What that speed does is to minimize and sometimes trivialize previous achievements because it's so big. It's so big that the machete looks small to you, the cutlass. But that cutlass was not invented in 20 years. It took a very long process. And as this rush, in its speed, efficiency, keep descending on us, it makes your radio look so primitive. It makes your black and white color TV so primitive. It makes your cars of 30 years ago primitive. And it makes everything very primitive. But that does not mean we will not understand the power of past technology. There is no society without science. That doesn't exist. So nobody can say you don't have science. Otherwise, you'll be dead. You won't be able to reproduce. You all have been phased out. There will have been an extinction. Because you need that science to make your food at a very basic level. And many of the food you enjoy, because you've taken them for granted, you do not know that they develop over time. Neither do you respect the fact that your indigenous clothes are products of invention, that your engagement with the environment is a product of invention. You don't know that your ancestors can use poison to kill an elephant and a lion and tiger. You don't know about contact medicine. But Nollywood is bringing it back to you in terms of witchcraft and technology, witchcraft and science. If you live in Nigeria today, you find ritualization processes. They believe that you can become a multimillionaire by falling on those older indigenous science and technology. As a woman, after your menstruation, people are looking for your pad, the blood of the pad. So you burn it. People are looking for your underwears. This is not a joke, although I'm a comedian. People use their wives and brothers to go and make money. And you are dismissive of it when you look at Nollywood. But they are real. They are real. And we see the reality of that past science and technology during COVID. The theoretical assumption during COVID is that you all will be dead, that they will be picking bodies on African roads. At the end of it, over 1 million Americans died, and we did not lose 1 million in Africa. Why? Because you fell back to your garlic, pawpaw leaves, mango leaves, tobacco leaves. You fell back to those herbs and plants that people have been using for centuries. And we began to drink it to boost our immune system. They said we didn't know about quarantine. We didn't know about isolation. We didn't know about fascination. It's just the names that we call them that is different. What they call fascination, we call it incision. Using blades to cut into your body and rubbing medicine onto it. If they use spears to take out the blood of animals when they kill them, we just poison the arrowhead. And contact medicine remains till today. And you could see how we begin to walk the past into the present, not eliminating these established technologies and eliminating older sciences. We still use them in different capacities. Narratives up until the early modern confirm this success. And part of the achievements of a book published in 1972, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, was to make the argument about comparative development. It was a successful book. We celebrated 2 years ago the anniversary of the 50th anniversary, and I was able to reflect the impact of that book in the Journal of African Economic History. There are arguments that the slave trade set us back, and that argument is very well established. And there is the other argument that we began to mythologize technological and scientific processes, that we converted them into monopoly of a few people. That instead of stretching that knowledge into education, we converted it to family occupations and monopoly. And once you do that, and you phase out one generation, you are losing a major library that will locate the essence of that technology in specific hands. We still do that today, in which the Babalawo among the Yoruba or the shaman will not tell you precisely what they are doing. And second, we began to locate many of these ideas in mythologies. Mythologies are important. They're very important. They are ideas that are global. Your current airplane was a study of the wings of the birds. If I tell you many Yoruba mythologies, they've also been thinking about fax machine as far back as the 12th century. They were thinking about flight. There are human flights in many African mythologies that they can stand here, raise one leg, and I will be in Lagos. All these mythologies are there. The 1st century king of the Oyo Empire by the name of Shango had developed thermodynamics, electricity. He could emit fire from his mouth. And then we did not elevate mythologies into science. We didn't run with them. And there are many things we didn't run with. In philosophy, in metaphysics, the argument has been that even the birth of Jesus Christ was already predicted in ancient Egypt. That's there. Amen, A-M-E-N, created what you now do on Sundays. Our God who art in heaven. Some will argue it was plagiarized. But you can point to so many ideas that we did not run with. And today, many African plants have been stolen. A colleague of mine wrote about 6 plants stolen from Africa, now part of global pharmaceutical. The Zulu medicine plants of suppressing appetite has been stolen. Bitter cola, immune system, HIV, performing some of the functions of Cialis and Viagra has been stolen. I have it in my bag, in my hotel. Things that you just chew. In fact, I forgot I should have brought it here and asked you to chew and report back to me tomorrow. And so you see how even what we have, bitter leaf has been stolen. They told you palm oil was fattening. Now they said it's for weight reduction. And the very idea of food as medicine was one of our inventions. the food that we eat, if you interrogate them, are basically medicinal. Bitter leaf is medicine. All those plants are medicinal. In the part of the world where I come from, you eat hot pepper. It's antibacterial, it's medicine. You're just consuming it as medicine. And it attacks the bacteria in you. But we have abandoned the ancestral food and we now consume the food that is not anatomically programmed for our body. So today, we have substituted environmental diseases with lifestyle diseases. Tell me, for those of us who have been tracking many things, how can farming communities produce obesity? It's not possible. You walk 3 miles to your farm, you walk 3 miles back, you take your dinner around 5 because there was no electricity. I stayed in the village before. The idea of 3 meals a day is an Anglo-Saxon tradition. It's not an African tradition to have breakfast and then lunch and then dinner and then you use computer. After 5 years, you are going to become a member of the Association of African Pregnant Men. Some of my friends, including myself, were already pregnant, 5 months, 6 months. If I remove my shirt, I'm in the last trimester of my pregnancy. And you see how, in not interrogating what we have inherited, we land ourselves in trouble. I have produced 2 prefaces for my lecture. And I will leave the lecture behind because anytime I talk, I do 2 in 1. I prepare the lecture and then I now give a second lecture, which is what I'm doing. I now want to link this topic to our universities. In the origins of Unisa, Makerere, University of Ghana, University of Legon, remember that their motivation was to tie knowledge to the production of human power. They wanted to expand the bureaucracies. They wanted to create civil service jobs. They wanted to build the nation. The emphasis was not on occupations of science, technology, no. Indeed, in the case of Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, they were not even teaching engineering in those universities. They were not teaching occupations of the nation state in those universities. They were created agrarian manufacturing age. Many African universities, they were located in those age. That was the age of the cutlass and the hoe. That's when they created these universities. Those 2 implements, you now condemn them, but the condemnation came after the colonial powers had gone. Those machete and hoe produced more successful monocrop economies. Cocoa in Ghana, cocoa in Ivory Coast. Those 2 tools produce the extractive industries of the colonial regimes. You can abuse those implements as primitive, but they delivered. They delivered exploitation. They delivered control. They delivered colonization. By the middle of the last century, you begin to find how global economy began to change. in which they transited from the manufacturing age to the financial age, in which global economies were being controlled by banks. Leading to new occupations, emphasis on economics, emphasis on law, business education is understandable. And subsequently, we transited from the financial age, began to combine it with the internet age. This internet age that you find in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, produced Dell, Google. And it's important to understand this transition before you can understand this moment. What did Google produce? Service. What did Warren Buffett produce? Service. What did Bill Gates produce? Service. In producing that services, they became the richest people in the world, disconnecting their work from land to the brain. Let me repeat. The world since its creation was dependent on land. And today, you now have knowledge economy. There are 7 countries that have no resources who are extremely rich. What resources does Germany have? Does Japan have? Does Israel have? Where are the resources? They don't have resources. In not having resources, they had to work out the power of domination to get resources of other people. Get oil from Nigeria. The region from Central Africa to South Africa has 40% of the entire world resources. 40%. These are geological anomalies. There's nothing you cannot get from Central African Republic down to South Africa. There's no mineral you cannot get there. Is it diamond? Is it gold? Is it tin? Is it extensive earth minerals that made possible for Elon Musk to become rich? Without those earth resources, you can't use cell phone. Without those earth resources, you can't become a nuclear power. And we have all of them being extracted by those who do not have resources. France has an extensive gold reserve. It has no gold. Have you ever seen a place in France that produces gold? No. But it has one of the most extensive gold resources in the world. Mali has gold, dating back to Mansa Musa of the 13th Empire, 13th century, that went to Cairo. It is gold that started the British golden coin. It is African gold that produced the first coin in Europe. But Mali has no gold reserve. And you can see how these contradictions played out. As you transfer the capacity of making money away from land, you shifted it to your brain. A farmer, unless you have tons and tons and tons of land, a farmer can no longer be rich. How many bags of peanut will you produce to exchange for that small computer on the table? That is produced with earth minerals taken from you in an air-conditioned office. And you producing granite and land materials will work for months. You have to work like for 4 years to be able to exchange your farm products for that small computer. And by the time you've bought it, the very day you bought it, it has become obsolete. That is the idea. If you buy a cell phone today, it has become obsolete. That is the idea of any technological product. Because they will release to you as capsules additional changes and innovations. They already know that. They just don't give them to you. Say, okay, buy it today. You will buy another one in 2 years. And in the process, you have to keep cannibalizing what you have because innovations are ahead of you. That financial age, that internet age, ultimately led to the fourth industrial revolution. And artificial intelligence, digital power is part of that fourth industrial revolution. See how long it will always take you to get to where you are going. I've spent half of my time to get to the topic. So, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution with so many complexities. Cars that drive themselves. Bill Gates said, only 3 things will be left standing as this AI moves forward. Surgery will be performed by AI in 5 years' time. If your body is funny, go to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT what is wrong with your body. It will prescribe medicine for you. It will prescribe medicine for you. It can construct a house for you. It will write an essay for you. In other words, its capacity to tell you many things are so expansive. They're very expansive. As we begin to talk about a new world dominated by artificial intelligence and digital power, all forms of technologies, all forms, from the very beginning of civilization to today, they produce, it's a double edge. They will give you all the positive, but they also will give you the negatives. The cutlass will let you farm and give you food, but you can also use it to behead somebody. You can use it to kill. And all technologies have been like that. But there's an aspect of technology that you must also be aware of. It enables a capacity for definition. Let me repeat. We do not apply the concept of a notion of definition to our understanding of society. Definition is extremely powerful. You draw them from cultures and humanities, and you now feed them into technologies. What do I mean? When your battery breaks down and they ask you to reboot, they give you a cable and they split the cable into two. One is black, one is red. They call the red positive and the black negative. That is language connected to that technology. And you see how in labeling and naming is also racialized. The devils look like you, and the Satan look like you. You can be angry at me, but I'm not the one who said black people look like Satan. Am I the one? If you see the cross of Jesus Christ, it's an handsome man, very lean and white. Am I the one? And you find how you can negativize that technology as we invent it and convert it to definition as a form of control and humiliation. So on the one hand, you get its capacities the way you want it, and on the other hand, you begin to use it to stigmatize others. If you say Africans are primitive, underneath that statement is a characterization of your science and technology. If you say the continent is backward, underneath that definition is technology and science. So, but people do not see the linkages between that technology and dehumanizing labels and definition. And you and I have to also begin to attack that concept, because it's racialized. It takes blackness as a negative in terms of the advancement of that technology. In the next segment of my lecture, I will talk about connectivity challenges, reliance on foreign technology, the process of digital transformation through the prism of deficit. By means of domestic digital inventions, transnational partnerships, strategic technological use, I explore various dimensions in which the continent is reinventing its agency to redefine geopolitics, economic autonomy, and cultural narrative. I'm making a case for our own digital power to recover sovereignty, to build resilience, to question what power systems, and to say that if we embrace technology, we must also link it to the humanities. I'm advocating for the creation of new degrees program, culture and technology, a bachelor's degree, in which we say, okay, we will take all this technology, we'll merge them with our own concern, and we'll train a new generation of students. I have no project. We can create BSc Humanities and Sciences. We can create Technology and Gender Studies, BSc. We can link them together and fashion out our own autonomous degree programs. I've done similar things before, proposing BA, BSc in Witchcraft Studies, BA in Kingship Studies, BSc in Herbal Studies, that until we create universities in Africa, until we create African universities instead of universities in Africa, we will not create indigenous autonomous programs that will work for our people. And I'm using this platform to say that I'm not asking you not to borrow from anywhere in the world, but why don't you translate them? Why don't you domesticate them? Do we have the capacity to do that? Yes. We translated Islam into indigenous Islam. We translated Christianity into Pentecostalism. If you're a member of the Pentecostal Church, J.B. Joshua, Sulaiman, Redeemer's Church, and the pastor don't talk about witchcraft, you will stop going there. You cannot go to a Pentecostal church and not be afraid of enemies. Because the pastor will tell you your mother-in-law is the one that doesn't allow you to be pregnant. It's a project of translation. It's a project of translation. One day, they call a meeting. My siblings call a meeting. And they said, I should be sharing my salary with them. I said, why? They said, how come your mother has 5 kids, you are super brilliant, and the 4 are not brilliant? They fail in school. Now what I've done is that I've stolen their destinies. Added those to mine. So I know the knowledge of 5 of them made a first class when they made 3rd class and passed. And now, having stolen their brain, I should now be paying them at the end of the month. You laughed. That's fine. We call that metaphysics. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of knowledge. 2 nights ago, we were talking about burying the dead in South Africa. How you can go to the mortuary and steal a dead body. How they want to lay claim to dead bodies. That's metaphysics. Can we say we are trained with that metaphysics? No. We combine them with Western knowledge system. So you can have a degree in technology and metaphysics. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And we have to do that. That this unique part, this opportunity, we can connect to our cultures and to our humanities. And yesterday I made the point that do not be afraid of artificial intelligence, but do not throw away ancestral intelligence. Because that ancestral intelligence has been with us before the birth of Christ. Why do you want to throw them away? Not far away from here, I was taken to a museum, is it Freedom Park, where they show us a 3D movie, an origin story. Is it here or is it in Johannesburg? It's here, right? It's brilliant. That's a conversion of mythology into technology, in which instead of narrating a story, they converted that story into a 3D. And these are so many in which we can do. That connection we must do. Digital power operates at various levels. As I said in this paper, it has empowered the lower spectrum. It has empowered them, the market women, the farmers, in terms of using their cell phone for transactions. They can now talk to their son in China, talk to their daughter in UK, from their small farms. They tie it under their wrapper, or they put it in the safest box ever created, the woman's breast. That's where you keep your valuables. So, you are laughing as if you have never kept your money there before. Have you ever seen a market woman who doesn't keep her money inside her bra? Because it knows nobody can come and touch the money, including the husband. Are you going to grab the breast and say, bring out the money? It's very secure, far more secure than my pocket. You know, you have to pay attention to people's behavior and understand what they're trying to do. Okay. But it has also facilitated power at the top in its capacity to destabilize resistance and protest and power below. It has enhanced the capacity of the global north to control us. They can take away your electricity. They can take away the entire internet of the nation. And the state can do that. Ethiopia did it. Denying citizens access to the internet. Senegal did it. You can send email. Abacha, Buhari did it with Twitter. When Mubarak fell with that Arab Spring, the state was yet to master the power of technology. All these answers are made possible by cell phone because you can meet without the state knowing where you are going to meet. It has created opportunities for cyber terrorism. And it has enhanced the capacity of fraud, Yahoo boys. I don't know what you call them. I don't know what you call them in South Africa. Scams. 419, they call it. A Nigerian stole 49 million from the Trump campaign fund. The expansiveness of this scam, this 419, has no limit. And Lagos is one of the centers of it. You know, you have to marvel at their capacity. You come and try to hack my account, whether you have that skill or that talent. You don't. You don't. Because what is happening is, you know, you can't control how human beings use their intelligence. You cannot. Because they can move in the positive direction and you can move in the negative direction. In Lagos, they can clear your account just like that. Everything in your bank account is gone, never to be recovered. So that aspect is there. So the state has its own capacity. The global north has its own capacity. As you can see in the current drone war, there is capacity over the control of data because it's a form of power and it's a form of imperialism because this data is being controlled, and as the executive dean said, it is linked to imperialism. So when you map out this big topic, which I've done in terms of locating it in history, locating it in humanities, locating it in culture, you find the following. It's an infrastructure that leads to access to many things. It's an infrastructure. So in that infrastructure, you find mobile phone global connectivity, You find mobile internet as a means of access. You understand the infrastructure, you understand the access, but it's also a form of inequalities. When you are using WhatsApp, it can suddenly stop working because it has its own witchcraft. And it's linked to a wide variety of things. And it has allowed giants, telecommunication giants, to emerge. MTN, Orange. But bear in mind that they are connected to data sovereignty. As you are sending messages, you are giving them data. They are mind readers. They know your taste. If you receive news, they know the kind of news you want, and they will be feeding you with that news. If you like Trump, it is only Trump news they will be feeding you. If you hate Trump, so they create silos. They create silos for you. And in that silos, they put you in a box. And they make you believe that what they are sending to you in shaping your opinion is the reality, when in fact, it may not be. And you must be aware that they're shaping your mind. They know the products you want to consume. They know the films you watch. And they know what to tell you. And they've created tremendous data centers and cloud sovereignty. So I keep everything I have in the cloud. You may say it's convenient, but I've also released all my data. It's gone. You think it's yours because you have password. No. Take your phone and computer to Yaba Valley in Lagos. They don't need your password. They will just open your cell phone. Password is a form of deception. It just gives you some kind of power that you think they cannot enter your cell phone. Who told you that? Who told you that? It's not correct. If your wife files for divorce, you go to the attorney goes to a technical person. They will download all your email messages to your girlfriend. You think they need your password? They don't. They will bypass it. They will bypass it. If you have a lawsuit and you're talking to your lawyer, what if the lawyer wants to know is how much is in your bank account? He's not going to ask you. He will know. Because there are small boys on the street who will say, hey, can you tell me how much Falola has in his bank account? Because you have already created the data. The data is already there. And it can be accessed with those who have the capacity to do it. Second, it's a form of surveillance and political control. Many African nations are not surveillance states. And let me explain that very carefully. If you go to my city of Ibadan and you ask them, how many children have been born this year? They don't know. If you ask them, how many people died last year? They don't know. If you go to the state does not know. Why? Because we have not created surveillance society. Why do you want to know how many children Mrs. Falola has? What's your business about that? And what do you care if Falola dies? Why are you counting dead body? What do you want to do with it? Because that surveillance is not part of our own data collection. But there is now cloud sovereignty. And you must know that this cloud sovereignty is generating control over data and control over citizens. Whether it's biometrics, the data being collected by the state. I cannot say I'm not here. Data sovereignty knows I'm here. It knows I'm talking now. It knows where you are. Your cell phone is a locator. It knows where you are. Let me make a joke with my good friend Zuma. His wife called him, one of his wives called him. We can't say his wife for a prodigious personality. Zuma said, "How do you know I'm here?" He forgot that he's carrying a cell phone to answer. How do you know I'm here? My cell phone, I-16, or what do they call it, will locate that I am in room 321, Protea Hotel, and send it to my wife. You can locate all your children, 360, you just install it on your phone. It will tell you where your daughter is. It will tell you where your son is. 100% accuracy. You know, in the book of Genesis, God asked Adam, "Where are you?" You know what he said? He said, "Oh God, I'm naked." What kind of answer is that? I'm on top of a tree. I'm under the tree. That's what God asked him. So, my advice to you, in the age of surveillance and cloud sovereignty, do not tell lies anymore. For those of you who are incredible liars, it is time to get rid of that. Because, you know, there's a very lucrative business in Nigeria. It's called kidnapping. You can become a millionaire. Do you have kidnappers in South Africa? Yes. Well, I'm not sure they're as competent as the Nigerian ones. They are professionals. So, they kidnap Falola. You know the first thing the kidnapper will do? Open your cell phone, and they will go to your contacts. Hey, in that your contact, Professor Edith Pashwana, Executive Director of the Thabo Mbeki School, 1 million. So, you know Sefiso, the author of Democracy in South Africa, 4 volumes. 3 million. So, you know the president of Rwanda, which is true. You know Kagame? 10 million. It will use your contacts to determine the ransom. So a person like me, if you kidnap me, you become wealthy and you don't have to work anymore for the rest of your life. It is not a joke, but I cannot prevent you from laughing. You understand? In which that data that you keep on your cell phone is also providing information that can destroy you. You understand? But its destructive capacity moves to your domestic. When I was young, you see, I'm still on page 1 of a 40-page lecture. So, but I will close. You can see I'm doing Falola for you. So, they will ask us to read the 10 Commandments. Don't steal, don't do that. Parents continue to do that today. But that computer, that cell phone, that iPad will wash away all those values. Just go to the bathroom and watch pornography. Everything that your parents told you, they've collapsed. Everything. It undermines your values. It undermines the cultures you are trying to implant. As your son goes to his bedroom with his cell phone, that cell phone will tell him where they sell drug in Pretoria. Just ask, where can I get marijuana to buy? It will tell you. And you see that capacity, this digital capacity. But it moves further than that, because what it does is it enables you to democratize using resistance and protest, but it also encourages authoritarianism. Because the state communicates through its own manipulation. And there is no state today that doesn't turn to digital to maintain its authoritarianism. Trump does it on a daily basis with his truth, what did they call it? Every day. It uses it to communicate lies. And it's very effective. It allows you to do more censorship. It provides opportunities for economic digitization, fintech, mobile money, digital startup, innovation hubs, e-commerce, and gig economy. So those capacities are very extensive. It allows you to do digital activism, hashtag movements, NSAS, fees must fall, digital literacy, using digital power to create civil society. But there's also the algorithm of bias. You can destroy an entire nation. You can just destroy them through digital power. And you can do misinformation to destroy them. Our friend, the president of Mali, Traore, is so famous globally through misinformation. I think he's now the most famous African president. One day they will say he's sending food to many countries. Another day he has created this, and people believe it. There was a story he was going to be assassinated all over the world. People did Traore protest. He denied that he's not promoting people to do that, but he's also enjoying it. It has created corporate influence, geopolitical influence. There is technological self-determination. There's a control over African data and platform. US and European big tech, Google, Meta, Amazon, they have tremendous influence over digital markets, policy directions, and how you use data. The China Digital Silk Road is a conglomerate. I've outlined all this power of the digital. Let me now begin to close by concluding, by linking them to our own circumstances. We have to create digital agency. And we are beginning to do that in terms of improving our banking system, electricity, and local markets are using them. That we are creating networks that advanced beyond what we inherited from the European powers. I'm not saying we don't have challenges as legal obstacles, technological obstacles we have. We are leapfrogging to leadership role in various sectors, in landline, in connectivity, the creation of hybrid system, now aggregating digital tool with conventional techniques. We now have farmers using SM-based networks, bypassing middlemen. In Ghana, the use of WhatsApp to create chains of businesses. M-PSA is common in this part of the world. Safaricom, Vodafone in Kenya, and all of this changing the nature of the economy, the financial system, moving towards a cashless economy, and creating mechanism of empowerment. We have to rewrite social contracts. I don't think any African state can prevent that rewriting. You can now create an alternative nations on the internet. That is, imagine, I'm Yoruba, they've created the Oduduwa Republic. It's an internet nation with its currency, with its governance. One day I receive an email making me the Minister of Culture of the Oduduwa Republic. All these countries are now on the internet. Igbo Nation, Biafra, iPod, and they operate like nations with their own government, with their own flags. Countries must be careful now not to provoke civil war, because the nations on the internet will make that war longer to complete. You can now raise money on the internet to fight, as Kanu does for Biafra. You can now create nations in different countries behaving like nation states, and you can disrupt. So there's now an internet citizenship. In some ways, this internet citizenship may be connected to the real nation state, but in some ways, it may sabotage the nation state itself. I'm not suggesting ideas for any of you here, but you can use the digital to create social movement, to create a digital identity which you can convert. And the potentials for damages are enormous. You can now create an Africa digital landscape, building alliances and aspirations, far more effective than holding meetings. So all this possibility of mobility, of creating voices, generating debates, are now with us. When I interviewed President Mbeki from my small office 22 million people joined us to watch the program on various platforms. I'm getting back on Saturday, holding the TF interviews on Sunday. 7 million people have already registered. That is the size of a political party. And for young men and women, as you rethink your spaces, you can connect yourself to digital geopolitics. You can connect yourself to blockchain. And you have to be aware of the challenges of digital power in terms of generating inequality, control, and fragmentation. It can fragment you at the domestic level. It can split your family. Social media can destroy your communities and your spaces, and it has damaged the lives of many individuals. The digital future of Africa calls for a dramatic reinvention, transcending previous efforts and allowing us to build a Pan-African digital renaissance based on equity, sustainability, and collective agency. We can tap it to strengthen the ideas of African liberation. We can use it to create green data infrastructure. We can bring back the liberation thought of Du Bois and Kwame Nkrumah and Nyerere far more effectively than books can do. We can use it to position Africa as a participant in world tech discussion. We can use it to criticize the state, to criticize the dominance of the North. We can use it to draw alternative models from different countries. If we grant and promote our digital climb in justice, sustainability, Pan-African solidarity, we will extend our historical position in a positive way, and will empower this new generation to tap into the ideas of our ancestors to reimagine our future. In the words of the Zulu, I have spoken. Thank you. People are hungry. Can we skip questions? Yeah, please, can I grab water? Can I grab one of your water? Have you blessed it? Is it communion water or holy water from the Pentecostal church? Church.
Thank you very much, Prof.
They sell holy water. Yes.
Thank you very much, Prof. Can you please give him a round of applause? It is one of those occasions where time is such an enemy. I was sitting there looking at Prof skip through chunks of his lecture and said, and it's amazing that, yes, he was skipping through pages and pages of his lecture. His mind was not all over the place. He was coherent to take us from one idea to the next. I think because we don't have time, we have missed out on a lot from what he had prepared for us. So it's a full buffet that he prepared for us, but seemingly we only enjoyed the starter. It's such a tragedy that we don't have enough time. Without me wasting time, I'm going to allow us to engage him If you want to engage, and please do raise your hand, and I will note you. And because of time constraints, I'm going to plead with you to manage yourself in terms of your preambles, your narratives. Maybe just let's get to the point, okay? Just for tonight. Any takers? Also, or you're happy to go home? We'll start from here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll be number 5. My brother with no, let's do the 5 and then we'll come back with the second round.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your presentation. My question is with regards to challenging the status quo. I had a conversation with lecturers around teachers who are doing not like X and crosses, and teachers wanting to say that's all they know and don't want to move beyond a more inclusive way of assessment. So my question is to you, Prof, how do you challenge people who've been known how they've been taught in a particular way but don't want to move beyond the Western lens and the Western way of teaching?
Oh, thank you very much. Prof, let's give you a standing ovation. Last time we met in the University of Pretoria. Yeah, Prof, is this issue. Yeah, so us as the Netflixing generation, we would like to target the continental determination contribution as Mzansi besides our NDC, but generally the issue of climate change, Prof, also we must bring it up to say there's the other monster or dragon we'll have to face us in advancing the Netflixing generation. So as the digital praxis, the sense of agency we must use for us to develop the digital capitalization vis-a-vis us we want to commercialize it. But Prof, the issue was that, also we are seeing the bidding of Starlink, Naledi High, Mzansi. So as the next 15 generation, Prof, guide us, maybe the sense of guide us, or is a fiction or is the science fiction we need from your guidance as we could ponder the propagation and manipulation of
Let's limit our questions. He's next to you.
Good evening, Prof. Thank you so much for coming through. Quick, easy 2 questions. Number 1, it seems in South Africa and just a grander African nation, there's a new form of politics called computational political science. I don't know if people in the room are aware to it, which is a fusion of computer science and mathematical modeling as a lens of assessment for political science. So I wonder, it's something new I've discovered. It's a fairly new form of ideology. How do we indigenize that? In the rise of AI, a lot of the big conversation is AI is a European, it's a northern concept. How do we make AI, how do we able to use it for ourselves? My second question is simply that, actually, I don't know if he's in the room, but Dr. Zenon, who just recently got his PhD, I believe it was last week, Monday, his PhD thesis was on decolonizing universities. I'm just kind of jumping on your question, actually, which is just the identity of the fact that it seems as if universities are still very strong on the premise of Western ideology in terms of their marking systems and the way that we teach. And even grander, the text that we use. We don't use a lot of African text. We still use Haywood, etc. How do we change, how do we have a shift? And I think it starts at the home of these education systems. Those are my 2 quick questions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Pass it to the back.
No, thank you very much, facilitator. Let me welcome the presentation that was made by Professor. And I must admit that I learned a lot out of it, especially to separate or differentiate between the digital power and digitalization. I think I fully agree with you, Prof, that many African plans are stolen. However, the part I want to raise on that, my comment, is the issue of the money management, where I think we're failing as Africa. I will make an example. We have land, we plant maize, but the question we must ask ourselves, who does packaging, marketing, including who produced that meal, flour, and sample? I want to just make it to be easy and be clear. So I think is where we should focus if we talk about job creation, either as a state or people. The other part that I want to make a comment on it, because it is also happening in medicines, whereby you'll find that Chinese, either Indians, they also package. It's worse when you'll see that this plant is an African plant, but is packaged by Western, then we have to buy it, is the other issue that we're facing. Then when it comes to the issue of the data collection, I'm very worried about this, Prof, because of course now we are using technology that we don't own. Then the question or the concern that I have is the issue of the data and information management on it, of which is a serious case for us, even in the state, even for us as individual. If it's easy, it can be accessed anyhow, even by the scams. Lastly is the issue of the sustainability. I think also on the issue of the sustainability, it is broad. I will also just make an example of it. I know that we have minerals, we have stones that we're not even using. But if you go in other countries, like Western, in London, you'll find that they use the stones even to build houses. But us, we don't see that is an important mineral or product for us. We can utilize it. I think is the other part we should look broad on it to value the minerals that we have as Africa. Thank you.
Number 5.
Through you, Program Director, thank you very much. Prof, I won't be long. My input, in a sense, would be on commenting and also trying to may perhaps put a question forth. I think currently in the world is shifting towards a more of a multipolar order. And it seems like the Asians, or should I say the East, have formed themselves in a center, and they are, consolidating towards a certain vision that as the East they're driving. And in terms of the Pan-African idea and the Pan-African center, I think it's failing to come to that conclusion, because within the Pan-African movement, we are finding, for example, that we have Pan-African nationalists and Pan-African socialists, and they are pulling in different directions. They are unable to find that center so that they might establish something very concrete. In putting that forth, Prod, I'm saying that within Africa, I think we are still in the ideological build-up, and we are not yet concretely or practically now implementing within this multipolar order and contributing as a polar, as an African, Pan-Africanist polar. And in failing to do that, I think we will fall into the, in a sense of relying, whether we'll be relying to the West or relying to the East Bloc. And I think it has happened before that we did rely to the West and to the East. And I think the Pan-African should draft a more concrete and a more solid center that Africa itself becomes a polar where we can have data centers. Because currently we do not have data centers. I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on Telegram. WhatsApp is in the West, Telegram is in the East. Us as Africans ourselves, we do not have that influence within the digital space. And I think if we can concretely come together and build such, then we might be role players. But currently, we are not role players in this global community. And it's very important that we should have that center so that we can begin to create that center, and influence. Thank you very much.
No, you are hijacking us.
I'm sorry.
30 seconds.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Molatela from Unisa Radio. So, Prof, I wanted to ask, based on the point that you made on the change in the curriculum, especially in the educational system. So, do you think African countries should transform their education systems to be rooted in African indigenous knowledge, and what will be the impact of such a shift? Thank you.
Where were you yesterday and today? Oh, okay. Can you just maybe pass it to Prof. Paswan on that side? We will come back to you. We'll come to you. We're taking all the questions so that Prof can just answer all of them. That's his request. Yeah, it will come via you, sir.
Thank you, Prof, for such a rich, packed lecture that you have just given. And in this age of digital geopolitics, and I think I like your concept of the age of sovereignty and of cloud sovereignty, right? Is that what you say? This concept and surveillance. We, as African, I want to also talk to the last but one speaker who was talking about where are we as Africa and Pan-Africanism? What is our stake in this whole in this digital geopolitics as Africans? Because you realize, and I think you've touched this in the lecture when you were talking about where the war, when we imagine digital wars as well, what will happen in the world. Recently, we, as the executive of the school, we visited Estonia. And we visited a place called Milrem. You can Google it, Milrem Robotics. You know, we are way far. I think we are almost 30 years behind in terms of how we think about war. And I don't think if there can be war, even if on the offensive that we can be with other countries, I don't think we are prepared. Because when they took us to that Milrem Robotics there, we saw unmanned vehicles, scary ones that they are producing, they were testing in Ukraine currently. Where you will be fighting, Tina, we will be fighting as people. I mean, they will wipe us because those cars, the way they are programmed, you don't have to have a soldier in it. It will go to war, it will do its work on the battleground without a person in it. And I'm asking myself when we talk about digital powers and all of this, whether are we ready, are we preparing our young people? And I think you have actually left us in tatters as Africans to even think about how we educate our young ones. Because the kind of education that we are still following, we want to teach economics, law, humanities, and all of that. But you have now proposed programs of the future that should actually take care of all those things that you were talking about. And I think we need to be prepared, because I feel like we are 50 years backward in what the world is doing out there. And that also threatens our security as nation states here on the continent. Thank you.
So even as the mic moves, I think the pager incident in Gaza, I think last year, where pagers went off, killed and injured people, it's 3,000 people. It's digital war of sorts. And I suppose, as you are saying, Prof, we have live laboratories happening in Gaza, Ukraine, the Sahel, Iran recently, for these digital technologies. Over to you, sir.
Thank you.
We will come this way.
Thank you, Prof, for this very broad presentation. You have touched almost everything one could think of. I just want maybe your comment on few points, and I think some points have been mentioned by the colleagues in the room. The issue of patent. You know what? When we were making a presentation, I was thinking, even when we were talking about knowledge economy and the countries that don't have resources yet, they are leaders in knowledge economy. What came to mind when we were thinking about that is, how could Africa position itself by engaging on patents in this digital or fourth industrial revolution broadly? Because we can say whatever we say as the African continent, if we don't claim a space to say this is ours, whoever uses it must come to us. Even one talks about Microsoft and all those things. Patent played a very important role. I think it's something that I think we may wish to consider, whether we talk about the Pan-African digital renaissance that can come in. Then the other one, which Prof just mentioned now, you know, when I came to this presentation, Prof, and I'm not saying you should make that talk, but what I had in mind, think that maybe you will touch on, is the future of education. In broadly speaking, in a broad sense, future of education. And more specifically, how to reconfigure some of the fields of study. And you have touched on this, I must say, Prof, you have touched on this when you talk about combining humanities and digital power, or the fourth industrial revolution. But I think, I think also one of the persons who raised a question earlier on here, it seems to me the challenge with the educational system is how to prepare the generation for the future, which is a little bit away from what we know currently. And cryptocurrency comes to mind as the currency of the future, just as an example of something that comes out of the fourth industrial revolution. Then the last point, Prof, also it seems to me there's a major challenge for our African continent is how to leapfrog the African continent into the digital or in fourth industrial revolution, or the Internet of Things, or the digital power, whatever. Most of our countries are still, they have not even yet mastered the phase of the industrial revolution completely. We are still agricultural based and mainly rural economies, most of the African continent. How then to get into terms with what is current? And the last point, you see, some Prof here mentioned the Ukraine war. Even if you take one person in that Ukraine war, take Elon Musk, with his ability to use his technology to assist either the Ukrainians to infiltrate Russians, and in fact he denied them that use of that equipment. Is one person, not even a state, that has that ability to do that. That for me is one of the challenges that will face the future. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I had, oh yes. So it's yourself, and you will close here. Be mindful, if you want a rich answer, please, the rest of us be mindful of the 30 seconds.
Absolutely. My name is Daniel Rangadimusako, a practicing artist and a museum scientist. I am very grateful for what you mentioned regarding witchcraft being showcased. A colleague from Zambia said, and introduced me to a museum which displays witchcraft in a tacit manner, also in an explicit manner, explaining how things are done, which is the current TikTok happenings, whereby people explain how witchcraft exists. And in that sense, now, how do we put this perspective into your talk today, whereby you say digitization is important? How can this be documented without being biased to the information provider? Because when they provide information in a staged manner, then they tend to glorify and or demystify and or evilize it in such a way that people who read and learn about it, they shy away from it. It exists, it can be showcased in a museum. In South Africa, when the Freedom Park was being formulated by Dr. Walis Rod, I was part of it, we went to different provinces to collect boulders, and then we performed rituals. The ritual performance and the photos were showcased at Santen in a gallery adjacent to the library. Much as it cost a stay, but it existed because people started learning about it. Currently it's been archived. So as a data set for people to go and make reference from. But how do we do it in a digital manner now so that people don't just stage or maybe lie about it because it really exists? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Treasure from Academic Solutions. So this is an interesting topic for me because with the company that I'm working for in 2019, I think we had a career expo for 4th IR where we would be exposed to technologies such as 3D printing, where it can build like a house. So just to cut the story short, then I saw the future is going somewhere. So I'm a Christian. Sorry to bother you, but what I see is I think we are heading towards the 666 era. Because why am I saying that? It's because 4th IR, it integrates, it's in between cutting like what humans used to do, like in terms of their work. Now it's being replaced by AI. And then if you look at, if you like try to look into the future and look what the likes of Elon Musk is doing, if you look at Starlink and their objectives, if you also look at Boston Robotics and so forth, you can see that we are, like, most of the work is being automated, right? Hence, even the introduction of the chips, where they are now saying we might not even be competent enough to compete with robots in terms of work. So they might want to include chips like in our brains so that we can match the competency of the robots. So for me, and then I hear like a lot of people are talking about education, what kind of education. I think also we are in a post-education era where education will be redundant as well. Because why would you go to school, study for what, if a robot can do what you went to study for? So it gets scary. And then, yeah, just to come back on land. So for me, Africa has a chance, but the high chances of achieving this thing, yeah, they are quite high, as I've heard some of the participants, what they've said. So it's either probably we win this by witchcraft as Africans, because of already a lady over that side said we are 30 years behind. Or two, there's a revolution, which is a sense of agency. Because of you can see in politics, like there's no direction. Our youth, we rise up so that we can all have ownership of our resources. Because of once we own our resources, and then this technology is what I like. They mostly depend on the resources that we owe. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. And if you want to accept Christ, we can have a conversation outside. Thank you.
I think you picked up that I think you're a Pentecostal, as Prof said earlier, that the mixture of the two. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Prof, for a good presentation. Prof, every time when I Google, for example, Google or go to the ChatGPT and type the happy family, what appears there is Caucasian family. When I type a loving couple, Caucasian, families. So my question is, what can we do as Africans to influence algorithm of big data so that our children, can also see our faces in that big data, or when they are Googling or using GPT? Thank
Prof,
you.
Would you prefer to sit or come here?
Can I do what? I'll talk here.
I wanted you to use the handheld mic because you fade now and again, but it's fine.
So, the last question, you will notice on ChatGPT and the search engines, if you are looking for stuff from North Africa, they're far more extensive. Because the way it works is, it's being fed by the data that you all generate. And we now have materials where things on ChatGPT is plagiarism, you understand? They plagiarize all my publications. So, because it's the quality of what is being fed there, let me alarm you. If you write an essay and you send it to me by Gmail, it feeds ChatGPT. I hope you all know that. Yes. Your private conversation using Gmail and your WhatsApp get fed into that ChatGPT. For a handsome man like you, you must be careful with information between you and your side chicks. Well, how do you judge the quality of a successful lecture? One, the members of the audience are not leaving because this is a bad lecture. Half of you will have gone. You have made extensive comments and you have posed great, challenging, easy, difficult questions. So let me first of all clap for myself for giving you that lecture. You know why the lizard does like this? You've seen the lizard before, and it keeps doing like this. It jumps from a tall tree. The lizard jumps from a tall tree. It looks left, no ovation. It looks right, no ovation. Now, okay, if nobody is praising me, lizard, you are great. That's why the lizard keeps boasting about himself. So, I'm expressing my gratitude to you using an indigenous knowledge system. That's what I've just done. If I do not respond to your question, it means I agree with them. That will allow us to save time. If I respond to your question, it means I'm expanding your thought system. That will further enrich us. What I'm trying to say is that I'm not ignoring anyone in this room. If you are not satisfied, send your question to me by email or WhatsApp. I will reply you. And we can continue with the conversation. Patent, let me shock you. Why must we sign many of these contracts, global contracts, on patents and copyright? What is our business with that? Because in doing that, as good as it is, we also undermine ourselves. And you see some countries like China, North Korea, in some ways they move themselves out of that orbit. We should be intellectual, technological thieves. You understand? We should do counter-penetration. Some brilliant people abroad, they learn them, and they bring the knowledge back home for our transformation. Do I have examples of countries who have done that? China has done that effectively. You can borrow knowledge, but you can also steal knowledge and use them for your own development. And you must also know that when you buy a computer, when you buy a car from other countries, I hope you know they're also collecting data from those objects. I hope you know that. Aha. Now you know. They can't sell a car to the president of a country without surveillance. It's not possible. In the last few weeks, the Israeli government is telling its military, do not drive Chinese cars. How much time does it take to embed intelligence? You have Julius Berger to build the Aso Rock, the presidential palace in Abuja. You think when they are building it, they won't put surveillance? You think they don't listen to the conversation of Ramaphosa? Is he the one who created the cell phone? You think they are not listening to everything that Tinubu is saying? You buy a jet from them, your presidential jet. You don't know they've put surveillance in them? That all your conversations, when they give us the African Union building, you know the cleaners discovered that the entire building, there's surveillance there. With the Chinese government is listening to all the private conversations of heads of state. So it's part of the challenges we have to face. And these challenges, nobody is going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. The future of knowledge can no longer survive on current teaching methodologies. You must have heard about the Ottoman Empire, Islamic Empire. They were grounded in rote learning. I went to a madrasa. I'm a Christian, but I went to a madrasa. It was rote learning. We're memorizing it. And if you hear that somebody made a first class in an African university, the capacity is about remembering, it's about rote learning, back to the sender, in which the professor grades you on your ability to return his teaching notes back to him. And the best student is the one who remembers most. That is no longer going to work. We have to shift to skills and innovations. Because innovations represent the assemblage of competence and brilliance. Because if the education doesn't provide innovations, it's already devalued. Because the idea of university education is to contribute to the expansion of the economy. If it's not doing that, it is not aiding in creating a diversified economy. And if you don't diversify the economy, you cannot produce jobs. There will be no jobs. So the conversation about changing the dynamics of this education is crucial. Here is my recommendation. And I can write it down and send it to Professor Puleng, the Vice Chancellor. A university like this must have Innovation Week for all students to bring their ideas and innovations and give them prizes. And then they incubate those projects. They invest in those projects. And the successful ones, they look for venture capitalists and entrepreneurs outside of the university. And they begin to do profit sharing. Am I talking from my dreams? No. Stanford did that. One university transformed the economy of California, now the fourth biggest economy in the world, because of the innovation hubs. Just one university. Connecting those innovations to venture capitalism, to IT. One university. I live in Austin, the Silicon Valley of the West, of the Southwest, in which just one university transformed the chip industry. But what happens is there's a disconnect. I once listened to President Mbeki in this building saying that he went to Zimbabwe, Tanzania, and he saw many PhD theses. Professor Paswana was there. And he asked him, what are you doing with all these theses? With all the ideas in them? You know what we do? We shelve those theses. Congratulations, you've had your PhD. We follow you to drink and eat, or we trash the PhD. We just put it in the dustbin. And we give you the certificate. We don't translate these PhDs. We don't translate them. We don't have a unit on campus that will say, these are the ideas in the 100 PhDs we've produced this year. What can we do with them? We call that self-destruction. We're destroying ourselves. Because you work for 7 years, generate ideas. What do we do with the ideas? And we think we are dumb. We're not. Intelligence is not our problem. in this continent, intelligence has never been our problem. In fact, we don't have an intelligence deficit. We have an excess of intelligence. We have an excess of creativity in all walks of life. You know about music because you go to clubs and enjoy the music. That's creativity. That same creativity you find in the area of cultures, they are also in the sciences and technology. I was part of the Mandela Fellowship and Initiative. And every year on my campus, I receive Mandela Fellows in the area of creativity and entrepreneurship. They come. I host them in my house, and each of them must tell us what they have done. They now have a South African branch because they once invited me to come and talk. And all of them have transformational ideas from how to convert garbage to electricity. Great ideas. Great ideas reside in men and women in their 20s and teenagers. By the time they get to my age, the brain, if not dead, has slowed down. You understand? But what we do not do, first of all, we don't trust them because we use our education system of the past to say that they are not brilliant and they are not serious. They are serious. Only they are not serious in the way you are defining them. You understand? And they are brilliant. Only that you are not judging them within the context of their own knowledge system. It's like asking a fish to climb a tree. In Einstein, I'm borrowing that from Einstein. A fish cannot climb a tree. I cannot judge somebody at the age of 18 the way I was judged. It's not going to work. And we don't involve them in saying, what should we teach you? Universities don't involve students in curricular building. They don't ask them. They don't put them on committee. What should we teach you? They don't ask them, how should we grade you? How should we do this examination? They don't have conversation with them in a changing world. I am not exaggerating. There are administrators who do not know how to operate email. They are technically challenged. And how do you ask a 92-year-old Paul Biya to be governing Cameroon, in which his ideas have nothing to do with the majority of his own population? We have to seek the means in which younger people will control systems and infuse those systems with their own energy. We have to create our own center, data center. I don't think there are ideas that our leaders have not been told. I doubt. I was here 3 years ago to give Africa Day lecture. I have gone to African Union many times. I have gone to ECOWAS. It is not a shortage of ideas. What is the shortage of ideas? Is it on voting system? Is it on Greek mechanization? There's no shortage of ideas. But development is not on the agenda of the African state. neither is transformation on the agenda of African leaders. I apologize to His Excellency, the Ambassador, who is here. I'm not talking about you, sir. Because leadership has to be visionary. Those who govern us must love us. They must respect us. And they must respect our knowledge. In this future of knowledge, you cannot do away with AI. It's not possible. And in this future of knowledge, we cannot do away with emerging technologies. It's not possible. In this future of knowledge, let us use our local ideas to at least solve our basic problems of farming, deliveries, communication system, and we now begin to build advanced layers on them. Let's borrow, let's steal, and let's move all over the world praying that those ideas will come home. Am I talking like you, the Christian? You say you're a Christian, right? Am I praying for you now? Am I talking about, I'm a prophet. I saw a vision. God will use you to transform South Africa. And your Christianity will not draw us back, but will move us forward. And when you become a pastor, that lady will become your treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for answering as comprehensive as you could these many questions. And I'm sure, and I'm certain that they were covered in your extensive lecture, which you didn't have time to fully share with us. With that said, I'm going to just also do, because we have been chased out, because our colleagues who needs to prepare the room for the next people tomorrow, are ready to come in and do their work. Prof, you want to do the vote of thanks, or should I?
Just let everybody say thank
you. But I must thank them for being here tonight. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Thank you for everybody who's online for joining us. Good night.